All right, we're live now. Hello, everyone. My name is Mitchell Nguyen, and I will be interviewing Joseph Bagert for the internal vice president position for UVSA Gulf Coast. Joining me today is Kent Tong, who is also on the elections committee. Before we start the interview, Joseph, would you please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with VSA?
Okay, so my name's Joe, or Joseph. I go to LSU, and I'm part of VSA at LSU. I'm a senior in construction management, but I'm looking to go into grad school for education. Um, so I got started with VSA my sophomore year, I guess. I went to like 2 events because my roommate was in VSA. And then the next year, a bunch of our friends from high school were joining, so I joined as well. And then I just joined intramurals, and then from there it's like, the whole story. You have that one person that really pulls you in, and they pulled me in, and from there I ran for E-Board. My term just ended as sports coordinator, so that's where I am right now.
All right, sounds good. It's great to hear that you joined, like even though it wasn't your freshman year. I'm glad to hear that you joined during your senior year, especially for E-Board. Okay, so I guess we're gonna go straight into the questions. So first up, what is your strategy to promote and maintain leadership within the Gulf Coast through your position?
So for promote, can you say it one more time? I'm sorry.
What is your strategy to promote and maintain leadership within the Gulf Coast with this position? I think Kent is copying and pasting it on the side right there for you too, just so you can read it again.
Okay. So in my position, I'll be heavily working with ICCs. So that'll have me with really good contact with all the schools. So I'd like to communicate with them to help push really promote VSA on the lower scale and really push like what the idea of Gulf Coast is as a whole. To their organizations, because there's still a lot of general members that aren't so seriously involved, that don't know much about VSA outside of their own VSA. So if they're exposed to leadership opportunities outside of just like E-Board, for example, of their own VSA, it allows them the opportunity for leader positions elsewhere in Gulf Coast. Like recently I'm on staff for family programming for Summit. So recently we have new members who are not on E-Boards anymore, or have never held a E-Board position, that are family leaders currently. So it's another way to get people more involved. So continuing like that. So yeah, I guess.
Okay. I totally see what you mean. Like pretty much like, I hate to say it, umbrella, but you'll talk to the ICCs, they'll talk to their schools and hopefully let them know about other leadership opportunities within UVSA, Camp Delta, all that good stuff. I guess moving on to next question. Describe one strength and one weakness for the position you applied for.
So my biggest strength would be my drive. I'm extremely passionate about what I'm doing. When I put my mind to something, I make sure that I get it done. I'm kind of, I guess, like I don't want to fail. Like if I put my mind to something, it has to be done in my mind, and so that drive really pushes me to keep going forward. That's kind of the drive to get where I am today. That's when I joined VSA, I was like on this intramural team, in that they asked me to be a captain, and in that aspect, I seem to excel. So that drive pushed me to run for E-Board, and then run for office positions for Summit, and then run for counselor for Camp Delta. And when I put my mind that I want to do something, I put everything I can to get it done. So that's what I'm trying to do here. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to be, and hopefully I can get that done. As for a weakness, my biggest weakness is my emotions. So that same emotion that drives me can sometimes get me in trouble. Um, I've been working on it and trying to hold back that emotion because it's good to use it sometimes, but you need to know when to hold back and be more of a stoic position, especially when you're in a leadership position. You don't want to drive away people through emotions because though sometimes your emotions are well intended, they're not well received. So you have to be careful about how you approach people in certain situations.
All right, thanks, Joe. I guess we move on to the next one. So as you know, a term on UVSA Gulf Coast E-Board is 2 years long. What do you hope to accomplish in the next 2 years?
So in the first year, especially, I would like to continue the like the growth that we've seen within the Gulf Coast itself. I know that last year Mississippi schools were feeling kind of distant from Louisiana, um, and this year we brought them in a date auction, and all along with Alabama. So all four schools got to participate in an event that had previously been exclusive to Louisiana. So of course, continuing that and pushing like outside events, like Southern Miss was just added back to Egg Roll Bowl, so that was awesome. And we also had a bunch of Louisiana members attend Egg Roll Bowl. So it's really good to continue that like interconnected growth. So pushing that, maybe something like a field day or like an Olympics day uh, for all the schools to participate in, if that's something that's possibly able to get done um, in my position. And then as for throughout year one and then into year two, looking into other schools that may want to join Gulf Coast. I know that there's a school at University of Alabama, Birmingham, that's not currently in a region. They're not too far away, and they seem to like have their stuff together, and it looks like they they have like a pretty strong organization. So to find them a home in a region would be pretty amazing. Um, and I know there's a school in West Florida that is part of Southeast, but they are very far away and somewhat seem distant. So reaching out to them or reaching out to Southeast to see how they feel about that would be another thing. So it would bring more organizations in, and it would also bring more organizations closer to our further organizations, since most organizations are within an hour or two of New Orleans. But some of the Mississippi and Alabama school, they're like further out there. So it would bring two more schools that are closer to them that make them feel more a part of the organization as a whole.
All right, I really like hearing that, especially since like it's part of IVP's like responsibilities to introduce either new VSAs in like that want to be included into our region or inducting new VSAs. And I feel like as IVP for last year, I don't think I really did that at all. So it's great to see that you are interested in that portion. Okay, next question. Name one aspect our region or UVSA Gulf Coast can use improvement upon.
Um, I think one thing that a lot of within our region we struggle with is the feeling that we're against each other. So there's a lot of competitiveness between schools, almost like rivalries, and rivalries are often good, but sometimes there's just like negative energy between schools, whether it's for any reason really. So trying to eliminate that, because we're not just like schools like separate. We're all part of the same regions, and we're all working towards the same goal. We all work together all year to fundraise for CPP. Like everything we do is for the same purpose. So there shouldn't be a reason that we're against each other in any format. So trying to push that mindset would be a big goal of mine.
Yes, yes, I definitely feel you. Like promoting schools to encourage each other instead of competing. All right. So, what kind of following up with that question, what do you think our region or UVSA Gulf Coast excels in or excels at?
I feel like we have a very strong community. Um, Everyone feels like they're, I guess, at home because even though we often compete against each other, we're also very loving and friendly towards one another, very accepting of anyone and anything. Um, and even though like this is VSA, I think we're also a very diverse cast outside of just the Vietnamese community. Like myself, for example, I noticed a lot in the Mississippi schools. There's a lot of non-Asian members, particularly. So I think our inclusiveness is something that we really strive and excel at. Um, Aside from that, I think our region really excels in promoting leadership in terms of um, E-Board members. So I think our region's camp, so our Camp Delta, is definitely the strongest in the country from what I've experienced. And it does a really great job at preparing people for what's to come in the next year and how to actually lead your organization in the right direction. Some organizations have like experienced down years, but you see that turnaround that can happen really quickly. Just from the leaders that are produced from our region. So I think that's amazing that our organizations that can seem downtrodden can really turn it around quite quickly.
Okay, I like this. Okay, so the next question. What experience do you have with delegation?
As far as delegation, let's see. So I guess I started my experience in terms of VSA delegation as captain for the sport for it was it football or soccer? I think it was. It was volleyball. Captain for volleyball. So learning to lead, I guess, individuals in that regard helped prepare me for my position on E-Board. Um, so for E-Board, I guess my main delegation role was basketball tournament. It was pretty much like a one-man job. So like all the duties that I was in charge of putting the tournament on. So anything I needed done, I had to request of my fellow E-Board members. Something that I couldn't get done, I had to request from them to have that done. Let's see. Sorry, this one's a little tougher. I was also a part of LSU Fan and Hat Dance, and I was co-choreographer. So I choreographed the hat section. So my job was delegating to people like choreographing the dance, basically. So teaching individuals how to do the dance, and sometimes like that gets frustrating, but you like whether the dancer is getting frustrated or someone's not quite getting it, and you start to get frustrated, but you have to learn to keep your calm and not get overwhelmed by something that's just meant to have fun. So that one definitely taught me a lot. Leading a group of, I think it was 7 more individuals, just learning something that seems simple, but I think it's a task that really teaches you a lot. So I guess that's it. I guess right now.
Oh, okay. I definitely see you kept yourself busy with delegating. Okay, move on to the next one. This one's kind of long, so I don't know if Kent wants to copy and paste this one. But since our staff demographics consists of mostly college students, what are your techniques to ensure the prevention of burning out yourself, your e-board, and the young leaders that you will work alongside with?
I think the biggest thing for burning out is remember that you're doing this for a reason and to have fun with it. Of course, in these positions, you have a very serious role that is not to be taken lightly, but that doesn't mean that you can't have fun while doing the things that you love. And this is something that I love, so I don't plan on burning out, though I know it does happen. Um, but just always like in my year on eBoard, just the faces you see on individuals after an event is held or like something amazing happens, like seeing people's reaction after our first fan and hat dance just makes it all worth it, you know? So you have to remember why you're doing it and all the positive things that come from the struggles. I think it's important to have open communication between eBoard members. You should never hold inside how you feel, I guess. Like, of course, be gentle in the way that you come across if it's like something negative, but you shouldn't hold inside of you something that will eat you up because that's really what burns people out quickly is holding back on emotions that shouldn't be held back. Because if you never voice your disinterest or your unwanting of something, it's just going to eat at you like for the remainder of your time there. So that's something that you don't want. And I guess just passing that mindset on to other individuals so that they never feel the same way. They don't want to. You don't want to see anyone burn out throughout the year. So that is a big role, I suppose.
All right. Thanks, Joe. We have just a few more questions. The next one is, as IVP, you and the ICC plan and execute regional events. This is kind of situational, but if it comes down to having only one event that is either cultural, social, or philanthropic, which one would you prefer? And why do you think that choice will better our region?
So I suppose I would go with social, which I consider date auction this a social event, because I social events, I guess, or is it a philanthropic event? I know it does both, but um, so it's kind of a cheat answer. But I think socially something like date auction brings the region together and encourages uh, continuation and like growth as the years continue. So it's something that I guess I said competition is bad, but it's like it's a little fuel for the fire to keep people going. And something like date auction does raise a lot of money for our CPP. So I don't know if I'm cheating here by choosing a social event that raises money, but I consider it a social event. So I guess that's what I would go with personally.
Okay. Moving on to the next two questions. So these are questions that we kind of came up with after reviewing your application. So what would you say to people who feel you are too new to VSA or lack enough experience to be on eBoard for UVSA Gulf Coast?
I would say, I guess, look at my history and where I've come from, or talk to the people that have seen me along my journey. Uh, it's nice to hear people tell me how much I've grown, or tell me how much they've seen me grown over the course of the year. Um, I know going into my term on the e-board for VSA LSU, I was not at first like I was not as wanted by the past e-board. They didn't like me so much for the position, but um, after the year, my president Danny told me how much I've grown, and how grateful he was that I did get elected. And so just I guess I'd tell them to ask around, or just look at the things, look at me and the things that I'm doing. I have the drive and I have the passion and I have the mindset, and I think I have the skills necessary to hold this position.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Next question is, in your application, you said you want to work with other members to bring new ideas to the region. You mentioned one earlier with the Olympics, but do you have another idea or potential idea in mind that you want to bring to the region?
So I guess kind of the two ideas. I know I touched on Olympics before. Would be a very social event at the beginning of the year. Anything that brings like those new freshman members into, so something towards the beginning that kind of, so a lot of younger members or newer members don't really understand the whole grasp of what it like Gulf Coast itself, and even older members as well. So something that really exposes them to a larger audience outside of just their own organization, I think could do a lot to pull people in closer to their VSAs. So any kind of just group event, um, like a field day or Olympics, quote unquote, anything that's like could really bring people together, I suppose. So I guess that's my main idea.
Okay, that's it. Actually all the answers, I mean, questions that we prepared, but during this interview, Kent actually wrote down some questions. I guess it is to like follow up on like some of your answers. So I guess I'm gonna say the first one. You said when you do something, you put your all into it so it doesn't fail. How do you handle failure?
Um, I think in my past, like a few years ago, or even less than 2 years ago, I would have handled failure a lot worse. But over the past year, I really have grown more than I think I have in my entire life. Um, Failure is something that I can handle now and grow from. It's not something that angers me or puts me away. It's something that makes me want to better myself. Because you're not always going to succeed, and you really take a lot from your failures. So if I failed, I would just take that and run with it and go from there, I suppose. Learn from my mistakes.
All right. And Kent's other question was, I understand you are working on holding back emotions. You are holding back on holding. Wait, I understand you are working on holding back emotions when in a position of leadership. How do you plan on leading and making decisions while not letting your emotions get in the way?
So I think sometimes in a position of leadership, you have to be more of that mediator, and not necessarily throw just your ideas in the ring. You have to oversee the ideas of everyone. So it's not like, I'm just reading the question again. I'm sorry. Um, I guess this goes towards my growth on VSA LSU's E-Board. Um, Early in the year, especially, I was like unstoppable in emotions, I suppose. Like I would just keep fighting for something that was probably a lost cause already. Um, but if you ask my E-Board, you can tell over the year, I've really grown in the fact that I'll take that step back and not be so pushy towards things. Um, I understand when and when not to continue the discussion on something. So my emotions of wanting to have something one way, if it's not going to happen, like there's that's the time to let it go, and you just have to hold back your emotions sometimes and not let them take you over. You have to be stronger than your emotions at times.
All right, Joe. I'm really happy to hear that um, this past year, like most of your answers, it seems like you really have grown within this past year. And I think like with being on VSA LSU's E-Board and then Summit and Camp, it's like each leadership position is totally a new learning experience. So if elected IVP, it's like, you're not gonna, no one's perfect. So hopefully it's another growing experience. Um, that's it for our interview questions. I think we're gonna skip out on questions for us, but do you have any like final words for our viewers, or?
I guess not particularly. I didn't prepare anything to tell the viewers. I guess I don't know. This is what I want to do. This is where the road in life that I've taken has taken me. I feel very passionate about wanting to hold this position. I feel very strongly that I'm capable of holding this position, and I just want to see the region grow and see what I can do to help that happen. So I guess that's all I gotta say.
All right. Very well said, Joe. Thank you for taking the time out and answering a few or more questions. This is Mitchell saying good night, everyone, and goodbye. Y'all want to say goodbye?
Bye. Goodbye.